What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be checking out a video by Audit the Audit, one of my favorite channels to get some brain stretching going on, you know? All right, guys, without any further ado, let's get into it.
On June 3rd, 2022, Officer Gilpin of the Midland Police Department pulled over the owner of the Last American Patriot YouTube channel, who we will refer to as Mr. Patriot, because he believed that Mr. Patriot had his phone out while driving. However, Mr. Patriot's cell phone was actually mounted on the dashboard of the vehicle. As Officer Gilpin approached the driver's side window of the vehicle, Mr. Patriot began to film the interaction.
Sir, I'm Officer Gilpin, Midland Police Department, sir. Ma'am. And so the reason why you got pulled over, as you passed me, I noticed you had your phone up.
No, my phone's right here.
Well, maybe it was my mistake then I stand corrected.
Have a good day.
No, you're not pretty good. You seem to be in a hurry, sir.
Was I speeding?
Yes, you were.
No, I was not.
Okay, you weren't speeding?
No, sir.
All right, your license, please.
Do you have me clocked for speeding, or did you pull me over for that? Because that's the first time you told me
Yes,
you pulled me over for that. Now you're telling me speeding.
Let me start over. Okay.
Please do.
I said,
So he pulls the gentleman over and then ask him if he was speeding? If he'd have said yes, would he just give him a random ticket? How fast do you feel like you're going? Approximately 15 over. Yeah, sounds right. 15 over for... What? That's just strange.
I noticed you with your phone. You corrected me. You said your phone was us up. You
So-
didn't have your phone in your hand, so I was mistaken. I did.
So then you got me for something else now.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You have a
so
supervisor?
I do have a supervisor. So
Why don't you get him out
please.
here?
Your license, please.
What did you clock me at?
Sir, I did not clock you.
Exactly. So I wasn't speeding. Because I saw you whenever I turned off of Garfield. And I am obviously not going to speed past a cop. Whenever I passed you, I was going 16 miles an hour. It's
Okay.
25 on these 20 or 25
My
on these
supervisor is
roads.
quite a distance away. I'm gonna give you a warning, let you go. You want to talk to my
Great.
supervisor? All right, I'll call my supervisor.
So you're holding me here
You asked for a supervisor. So I'm gonna
because
give
you're
you-
asking for my license for no reason, because I wasn't speeding. I'm not going to give you my license unless I was speeding.
All right. So you want to?
So if you're good with it and I can drive away, I don't need your supervisor.
Okay.
But if you want my license and you're going to violate my Fourth Amendment, you're absolutely getting your supervisor.
Do you want me to call my supervisor?
Do you want my license?
Yes, I want your license.
Yes, your supervisor.
Okay.
After Mr. Patriot demonstrates that he was not using his phone, Officer Gilpin then claims that Mr. Patriot was speeding, even though he did not clock him at any speed. And Mr. Patriot argues that he does not have to show his driver's license because Officer Gilpin was wrong about the phone and he was not speeding. In general, as the Supreme Court detailed in the 1983 case of Florida versus Royer, quote, "An investigative detention must be temporary and last no longer than is necessary to effectuate the purpose of the stop. Similarly, the investigative methods employed should be the least intrusive means reasonably available to verify or dispel the officer's suspicion in a short period of time." Based on this reasoning, some courts have concluded that an officer must terminate a traffic stop as soon as their suspicion is dispelled. For instance, in the 2001 case of U.S. versus Valadez, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over the state of Texas, held that an officer could not continue to detain an individual he had stopped on suspicion of an expired vehicle registration sticker and illegal window tinting.
See, like I said, I always leave here a lot smarter than I showed up. But then I always end up also thinking to myself, who actually knows these things? Because I know for a fact, like, no one's gonna tell unless you're, a lawyer who moonlights as a police officer. I don't know why you do that. You don't know the law like this. You don't know these case studies, and they go out there and they're just. A lot of these videos make you feel like you're just winging it, you know? Like I said, I wish our officers and our citizens, for that matter, were a lot more informed about these laws. But when you make a law about every flipping thing, of course, I'm just saying.
In order to run a computer check for his criminal history after determining that both the registration and the window tint complied with the law. In reaching this conclusion, the court explained that, quote, "Once an officer's suspicions have been verified or dispelled, the detention must end unless there is additional articulable reasonable suspicion. Further detention was not lawful after the point at which the purposes of the stop was resolved." But Mr. Patriot certainly has a strong argument that Officer Gilpin could not continue to detain him after his suspicions were dispelled without violating the Fourth Amendment.
I'd have to
So
agree.
those are fellow officers, not my supervisor. Supervisor outside town, so he's coming over. Okay.
Great use of resources there.
I'm sorry.
Great use of resources there.
Okay. You asked for a supervisor, so.
Well, because you're trying to violate my Fourth Amendment.
Sir.
Are you or are you not? Why do you need my license if I wasn't speeding? If I didn't commit an infraction, why do you need my license?
Visually,
You can't pace from sitting still.
you came up rapidly behind me. You were speeding. My interpretation. I didn't get your radar, so that is why I told you you were speeding.
So he just admitted. So that's why he asked him, were you speeding? Because he wasn't even sure, because he has no way to prove it. He just had a feeling. Normally, police officer can do pacing, to see how long it takes for him to pass the same tree or whatever the case might be or something like that. He didn't even do that. He just saw that the car was moving fast and decided to pull him over and ask him how fast he was going. Because if you'd have said yes, that'd have been the next question. So how fast were you going? So if he'd have said, say it's a 15-mile-an-hour zone and he said 16, you'd have given him a ticket for 16? You're just taking his word for it? Man, go back to school. Go back to the academy. Because that's not working out, man.
Okay?
You don't know
you gonna
that,
let
so
me
you
talk?
don't get my license.
So I'm driving. I saw you behind me. I saw the phone up. I thought you had your phone in your hand. Okay? So I pulled you over because of the phone. You said it was on the mind. I said, sir, I stand corrected. Exactly.
Have a good day. You're on your way.
No, and I said you were speeding. You said we're going to start over. That's right.
We're starting over, but you're still wrong. We can start over,
Sure,
but
I
you're
can be
still
wrong.
wrong.
You can be right. We can all be
Okay.
going back and forth. I'm just explaining. You asked me to start
Okay.
over. I'm just saying what I saw and what I interpreted. And I did not get you.
I must say, as much as this makes no sense to me, and the officer is obviously, he's not hitting on target right now. I must say he is pretty pleasant. He is pretty pleasant. Another officer would have been in his face. What are you doing? Why are you asking me questions? I'm a police officer. You better respect my authority. And he's actually pretty decent. I got to give him that.
Radar. You're exactly right. I did not.
Okay.
So I said you were speeding. I asked your license. You said no. You said I'm violating your Fourth Amendment.
Absolutely.
I said, okay. You said you want a supervisor. I said, okay, I was going to give you a verbal and let you go. I said, my supervisor's on the side of town. I can call him if you want the supervisor. And I did.
If you gotta have that license, I want to talk to the
Okay.
supervisor.
And that's where we are. So
How fast do you think I was going?
you're going over 10% over the speed limit.
You're out of your mind, bro.
Sir, my interpretation.
You're out of your mind. So if the speed limit here is is it 20 or 25? I was doing 16.
That's
Is
what
it
you
20
say
or
you're
20?
doing.
Is it 20 or 25 right here?
If you say you're doing 16, that is your interpretation.
Is it 20 or 25 right here?
I don't know. You tell me.
You don't know.
No, you tell me.
You don't. Either way. So if it's 20, 10% over would be 22.
If it's 25,
This is
10%
dangerous.
over is 2.5 miles.
Yeah. Okay. So 27.5.
Yeah.
So you visually saw me going 27.
Okay, now that's just dangerous. So you have no idea what the speed limit is. You have no idea how fast he's going. You're literally just hoping that he tells on himself. And of all the vague numbers, he's going 10% over. 10%, not a number. So what do you wear on the ticket? 10% over? When you don't even know what the speed limit in that area is? That's just. It's like, again, let's say the speed limit was 100 and you went 110. That'd be 10% over the speed limit. And that's when you're going 110. So if it's a 25 mile an hour zone, let's do some math real quick. Hold on. So he was going 2.5 miles an hour over the speed limit. 2.5, and let's be real, he's not going to see the 0.5. So he's probably going 3 miles over the speed limit. Okay. All right.
Mr. Patriot later determined that the speed limit on the road was actually 30 miles per hour, so 10% would have been 3 miles per hour over the speed. Although visual estimates of speed can sometimes be sufficient for an officer to prove they had reasonable suspicion to conduct a traffic stop, in this situation, a court would likely conclude that Officer Gilpin's assertion that Mr. Patriot was speeding was not reliable enough for him to have reasonable suspicion, as he claimed that he estimated the speed was only 10% over the speed limit, and he admitted to not even knowing what the speed limit was.
There's no argument. I'm
He's
telling
pulling
you what
numbers
the
out
truth
of
is.
his
I'm being
badge.
arrested by my government
Yeah.
for doing nothing wrong because you have to have my ID.
Because you violated traffic offense, yes.
No, I
Again,
didn't.
your interpretation.
You're a liar, dude. Don't come back up to this car. Get your supervisor. I'm not
My
talking to you
supervisor
anymore.
anyway. Like I
Not
said.
talking.
Listen, I don't like bringing up the P word. Privilege. I don't like bringing up the P word, but I'm telling you, a black man couldn't have done that. Hey, listen, that'd have been a different story. In fact, we've been seeing this on the news, not on Audit the Audit, all right? All right.
Anymore. You're a liar.
Yes, sir.
Sir, how you doing?
What can I do for you, man?
I'm wondering why I'm still here
Well, apparently you called for a supervisor.
because he wants my license when I have
Okay.
committed no traffic infraction. When your officer first got up to this vehicle, he said he pulled me for this
Okay.
because that's up there. When that was wrong, then he tells me that I'm speeding. I know for a fact I wasn't. I looked down at 16. The whole time I was behind him and past him, I looked down, I was 16 miles an hour.
Okay.
But he wants to get my license. He already told me, he hasn't clocked me. He estimated my speed from a standstill, which you can't pace from a standstill. He says I'm going 10% over the posted speed limit.
Okay.
From a standstill, he knows this. I'm not giving up my license unless you're threatening to take me to jail. I'm not the war you guys want right now with all y'all have going on. I was going 16 miles an hour, but I'm not.
All right, my man,
I'm
you
not gonna
pushing
let him
it.
violate the Fourth Amendment when he was wrong.
Okay. So you just, what do you want now? What is it that
I want to be unmolested from my government and on my way.
Okay.
It's not funny
Well, I mean, you sat here waiting for me.
because he wouldn't let me go.
Okay. All you need to do is verify that you have a driver's license.
Not going to do it. He doesn't have a reason to see it.
Well, now, yeah, actually, we do have a reason.
What reason is that?
Because we can actually stop you to check your driver's
No, you
license.
can't.
Yes, we can.
Not unless I've committed an infraction.
We actually can. I searched the traffic code. It'll tell you right there.
521.025 of the Texas Transportation Code requires that, quote, a person required to hold a license shall have in the person's possession while operating a motor vehicle the class of driver's license appropriate for the type of vehicle operated, and display the license on the demand of a peace officer. The statute also states that, quote, a peace officer may stop and detain a person operating a motor vehicle to determine if the person has a driver's license as required by this section. While this provision does seem to allow officers to stop any driver to simply check if they have a driver's license, the Supreme Court has long held such practices to be unconstitutional.
You see? And again, I learned this from Audit the Audit. Just because, you may know that the officer is doing something illegal or infringing on your rights, the street corner is not the place to fight that out. The courtroom is. So for me, these are a lot of things where, I'll ask questions just to, if it does go to court, hey, he was 100% negligent. He had no idea what he was doing. He was unprofessional, da, da, da. I asked him this. He gave me this answer. There's no doubt that he just simply did not know what he was doing and negligently, whatever to my rights, But again, the place to do this is not on the side of the street. The place to do it is if you're going to take me to jail, I will comply. You comply, you go talk to your lawyer. Your lawyer says, yeah, they shouldn't have done that. They violated your rights. And then you sit back and you wait for the money to come in.
Were the individual subject to unfettered governmental intrusion every time he entered an automobile, the security guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment would be seriously circumscribed. The court then went on to hold that, quote, except in those situations in which there is at least articulable and reasonable suspicion that a motorist is unlicensed or that an automobile is not registered, or that either the vehicle or an occupant is otherwise subject to seizure for violation of law, stopping an automobile and detaining the driver in order to check his driver's license and the registration of the automobile are unreasonable under the Fourth Amendment. Persons in automobiles on public roadways may not, for that reason alone, have their travel and privacy interfered with at the unbridled discretion of police officer. Despite the apparent meaning of Section 521.025 of the Texas Transportation Code, officers are prohibited by the Fourth Amendment from stopping individuals without reasonable suspicion to check their driver's licenses.
But that's all he wanted to verify is to send you on your way.
No.
So the whole stop is at this point from the book, the law, it's invalidated. Let the man go. Okay? But again, this is what I say. How many of these officers have this much information stored in the back of their head? And that's why no matter what you do, you can't necessarily argue with these officers because, again, the street corner is not the place to do that. The courtroom is,
Go. I'll let you go. Go.
Thank you very much. What's your name? Wilson. Badge number?
330.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
After Mr. Patriot again refused to show his driver's license, Officer Wilson allowed him to drive off. The day after this incident, Mr. Patriot created
and he still
his
posted
YouTube
it.
channel in order to share the footage of this encounter. It is unclear whether he intends to take any further action regarding the interaction. Overall, the Midland officers get a C- for claiming that Mr. Patriot was speeding when Officer Gilpin didn't even know the speed limit, attempting to identify Mr. Patriot without reasonable suspicion, and demonstrating a fundamental misunderstanding of the Fourth Amendment limitations on when officers can detain citizens. While this grade may seem generous, given the officer's blatant disregard for both the truth and the Constitution, I believe it is important to acknowledge that we have reviewed similar interactions on this channel that ended in a much less peaceful resolution, and the Midland officers never threatened Mr. Patriot with arrest or escalated the situation into a physical encounter, maintained a respectful demeanor throughout the interaction, and eventually allowed Mr. Patriot to leave without checking his driver's license.
Same thing I said. That's a positive because, again, a lot of these officers seem like they're on power trips sometimes. And instead of talking to you like you're a human being, they talk to you like you're already an inmate. Not to say inmates are human beings, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, guys, I thought that was a little bit, that was interesting. An officer pulling someone over because it looked like they were going fast. I had no idea what the speed limit was in the area that they were trying to give them a ticket for. And then the supervisor comes up and just lets them go. Your dollars well spent. Your tax dollars well spent.
Guys, thank you for kicking with me in another video. I'll see you in the next one. All right. Peace.